As good as cooking on Facebook.
Yeah, let me know when we're good.
We should be. Hold on. Hold on. We should be good. It says we're live, but I'm just, I got to see it myself. There we go. All right.
All
We've
right,
been live for
and
probably 2 minutes.
welcome. All right, and welcome back to the Paisan Sports podcast presented by Elevation 5280 Sports. Dante DePlacido joined as always. Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot to. Dante DePlacido joined as always by Zach Deal.
You got insurance?
Who needs insurance? Joined as always by Zach Deal of What's the Deal Sports. So I've got to ask, what's the deal with Xfinity Live? And I can't even say, for the time being, I can say Xfinity Live, but it's soon to be named Stateside Live after, I'm assuming, the Stateside canned seltzers, which I don't know where that came from. That came completely out of left field. I don't like the name Stateside Live. Xfinity Live, it rolls off the tongue. Xfinity Live, it's almost like one word. Stateside Live, it's not the same.
Yeah, it's got to
and
definitely.
What makes even less sense about it, and not that the two are related, but it's so odd that, the Wells Fargo Center gets renamed Xfinity Mobile Arena or whatever, and then Xfinity Live, that's right there, gets renamed Stateside Live. And what's the deal with Cracker Barrel? You had a great logo, you had a great look, you had your own niche clientele or customers. I never go to Cracker Barrel, but a lot of people love it. And then you completely sucked all the soul out of it, and now it just looks like any boring old Denny's or something. And the logo is just any old logo. And
They definitely need better decoration. You're going on a rant.
That, you lost millions in sales immediately. What's going on here?
Honestly, for somebody that has like the decoration type of mindset like you, like those two things that have been above your head on most of the podcasts that we've done on StreamYard, I feel like you should have some say in that. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't think anybody's like excited to tell somebody, yeah, you remember that moment in the 2025 Phillies playoffs when we were at Stateside Live? Like I that doesn't roll off the tongue. You know what I mean? Remember the playoff run that we had? I say that we had, but remember the playoff run that we attended, but it felt like we were on the 26-man or the 40-man roster, whatever you call it, man. Because of the run that we had at Xfinity Live, watching all the Phillies games during the 2022 time. And some of our biggest videos on our Paisan Sports TikTok that we haven't posted to in a while, I think, have came from Xfinity Live. So it's it's just like, it's really annoying because
the VIP section.
I just hope that Citizens Bank Park and the link never sell out to that level, because that would be disgusting, honestly.
Well, hold on now, because now here's the thing about Wells Fargo Center renaming itself to Xfinity Mobile, if that's what you were getting at, because you're referencing the other stadiums. Because and this is something
I'm just talking about anything. I mean, because honestly, wouldn't you agree? Xfinity Live is pretty much an extension, like the third or fourth stadium, you would say, fourth arena, like, you know what I mean?
It's an integral part of the complex.
Exactly. So that's why, like, in reference to that, that's why that guy pretty much tied all that in together, because I feel like it's that big of a focal part. Because pretty much, if you're a Philadelphia sports fan, especially people like us, I mean, the demographic, even people younger than us, both being 28 but diehard fans, like we just referenced in 2022, when we're 25 years old, what else are we going to go do during a Philadelphia sports event than probably go to Xfinity Live? You know what I mean? That's what
that's what most of our friends are doing. We are no longer 25.
Yeah, we're fading out of our primes, definitely, and we're getting older.
Yeah, it's depressing. But let's not dwell on it.
Hey, look at the bright side. Zach Bond peaked at the age of 28, so
that's true. I haven't even begun to peak. When I peak, I'm going to peak so hard that all of Philadelphia is going to feel it.
That's I'm going to do the podcast by myself for the rest of the time. So, yeah, that's what's going to happen there. But
That's an Always Sunny reference. All right, you gotta learn your culture here.
All right. Well, I'll start learning my references when you get back to actually doing the "What's the deal" voice, because like there's no flair to the segment when you just like in your normal Dante
What's the
voice.
deal with grape nuts?
No, but honestly, yeah, no, like that's disappointing for it to, it just says to me sellout nation, and just like all the talk about the Sixers arena that was
Okay. In all
built.
fairness, as much as I don't like the name, as much as I don't like them renaming it, the name itself was already a corporate sponsorship, right? It was
I know, but we were already bought into it though.
Switched from like a family name to Stateside Live. They just went from one.
I know, but outside of it being called the Link, do you think I actually care about Lincoln Financial?
Well, the Link is much more iconic than Xfinity Live.
I know. That's why I say that, because I hope it never gets to
like, what I'm thinking
that name out. Because we say the Link is so iconic, which it is to us and to other people around the NFL. Do you think the Oracle, the Golden State Warriors old arena, that got bought out to a different name too? So I mean,
well, here's what I was about to say. Here's what I was about to say. Now that I think about it, there's not really an arena, a stadium, or a ballpark with a sponsored name that has been standing as
the Staples Center. The Staples Center isn't even the.
It's Crypto.com arena now,
and it's like not even talked about.
But that's what I'm saying. Like a lot.
No. What we're getting at more so is I feel like
a lot of them have been renamed pretty recently.
Yeah, but I feel like a lot of it
one that still has its name from like decades ago. I can't think of one.
Maybe it's just a Philadelphia thing, but also it seems like it's a trend in the NBA, regardless of how iconic the arena is.
Well, I mean, Xfinity Mobile Arena has gone through 100 different names since it's been built. I forget what it was at first.
It was the Wachovia Center growing up.
First Union Center was the second name. Then it was the Wachovia Center. Then it was Wells Fargo Center. And now it's Xfinity Mobile Arena. This is its fifth name. So, it's already gone through so many different names. That's why I didn't care when they changed it from Wells Fargo Center. Like, I grew up with it being the Wachovia Center. I didn't have any like nostalgia.
They also did it to what? How many times have they switched the Camden musical?
What?
I don't know the Camden concert venue. The Camden concert venue.
Oh, like BB&T Pavilion?
Yeah, they've switched that name like 8 times in like
the past I don't even know what years. It is now.
No, that's like that was one of the names. What was the other one? Susquehanna Bank?
Something like that.
There was something. Yeah, there's been like 8 different names though. But yeah, no, I just like I said, I just hope that never happens to Citizens Bank Park. Or
that's the thing. I feel like maybe one day it'll eventually change. All I hope is that they never build a new ballpark. I hope that when my death date comes, Citizens Bank Park is still the home of the Philadelphia Phillies. Just like Fenway's been for over a century, just like Wrigley's been for over a century. I mean, it's such a beautiful ballpark. There's never going to be a reason for them to build a new one, and I hope
you just better hope that the wrong person doesn't gain control and gets the power to change it, because someone down the line will do that. Just unfortunately, we just know how things go. So we've seen it how many times before. But yeah, talking about Citizens Bank Park, I haven't been down there in a couple months. Honestly, I've been really busy, but I've been able to catch the games. Especially now, I've had a little bit more free time recently. It's going to change, but with the football season coming up and everything, I just also took on that play-by-play job as well. So if you guys want to check out the Delsey high school football streams this year, I'll be doing the home games. But on my spare time, I've been watching a lot of Phillies, and I love what I'm seeing. And it's almost shocking. Like, I'm texting you, and I'm like, Brandon Marshall's betting 270. Like, we know it. Like the trend has been that he's been better, but like, it seems like this entire lineup's batting 260. Like, everybody's at least batting 260.
Yeah, other than Max Kepler, everyone.
And Max Kepler's playing good though. That's not even. It's not like he's playing well.
Bad. And the only other guy under 260 I can think of is Bryson Stott, who got his average up to 250 recently. JT Realmuto, he's batting like 278, 280,
And
278.
Stott hasn't been the best recently, but one thing has been a little bit confusing, but I'll take it, is it seems like his power bat's kind of coming alive a little bit. Like he's hitting timely home runs.
And another guy whose power bat's coming alive a bit is Trey Turner, and he's still batting
He's just
out.
playing phenomenally. He's in year 3 now. He's finally playing like the player that we signed for that.
Oh yeah,
and more. He's actually exceeding.
His defense has been outstanding. He's been batting around 300 for most of the season. And to take a look at what he did from August 14th to August 18th, I'm going to give you the amount of hits in each game: 3 hits, 2 hits, 3 hits, 3 hits, 4 hits. That is an insane run throughout 1, 2, 3.
He had 5 hits the other day too.
Was that?
He had a 5-hit game the other day too.
Yeah, one of those. Yeah, one of the. Oh yeah, and then he had 1 hit the next game, and then the game after that, that was the 5 for 16, 5 hits.
I mean, and also honestly,
that's a 7-game run. That's just absurd.
And it's crazy to think, just on a random Wednesday in August, the Phillies had like one of their most iconic offensive games in probably the past 25 to 30 years. I mean, they were lighting and striping the ball up. There was 2 guys, I think, in the lineup, Stott being one of them, that didn't have 2 hits, and everybody else had 2 hits. And then you had Trey with 5. Schwarber had 5 RBIs.
That was the 1 o'clock game. I watched the whole game. And really, the offense didn't the offense all game, everybody was getting hits, but they weren't cashing in. I think they had 3 runs.
I tweeted about it, and someone called me out right after they blew.
And then they batted around for a 6-run inning, and it turned into an insane.
I literally tweeted the inning before they exploded. I tweeted to myself, it's honestly impressive the Phillies have 13 hits and 3 runs. And then 20 minutes later, someone hit me back on, I think, Twitter or something, was like, are you impressed now? And they scored, they batted around the entire lineup, and I was just waiting for Trey to get another hit. 6.
Not only did they bat around, but by the time the 9th batter of the inning came to the plate, there was still only 1 out, which
I saw that on the broadcast on Friday. Trey, and with runners in scoring position for his last 20 at-bats up to this point, it was a few days ago, was 14 for 20 in his last 20 at-bats. That's insane.
Yeah, I saw that.
He also, the other day, he might have got another one. I wasn't able to watch the game today. I was out all day, but he stole a bag for his 32nd bag of the year, so that's 30-plus bags stolen for him, something that felt kind of like he was falling off a little bit just from his overall game of what he was trying to do out there. It seemed like he was still aggressive on the base pass, but it wasn't to the point. But also, it's crazy to this point. We haven't talked about the leadoff hitter, and we haven't even mentioned it because it's just not a narrative for this team at all anymore. He's just sunken into that role, and I feel like him being comfortable and being that guy, he just knows what he needs to do, and he knows that he needs to get on base and put himself in position for Bryce and Schwarber to knock him in, and then those guys get on base. And then that's when, JT, the way that he's playing right now, we used to complain about JT getting that 4 spot in the lineup, but I'll take it right now if he's going to be batting like this.
Yeah, and that's the thing, when we were live, when Trey Turner first signed here, and my cousin called in, the first thing he asked was, where are you going to bat him now? And I said that right then and there, I want him in the leadoff spot. And, they finally made it happen this season, and he's been really, really doing this thing, not only getting on base, but of course, swiping bags, hitting home runs. He's up to 14 on the season. I think he's already surpassed or tied his RBI total from last year, although he had a shortened season last year, but he's not far from his RBI total the season before.
And even the other day, it's the little things too, Dante. The other day, I think it was 2 games ago, where he hits into a fielder's choice, but a run scores because he's so fast that he's running out a double play.
Yeah, no, speed kills, man. That's the thing. When you have the speed to where you're difficult to double up, that's huge. And they have that with a few different guys in the lineup right now, I would say, with him, with Stott, with Bader, those
It's
guys.
just crazy. It's just so crazy how fast the season turns because I mean we spent the first 6-7 weeks talking about is Bryson Stott going to be able? Can we trust? We were talking about can we trust Bryson Stott down the line in a playoff situation to be the leadoff hitter, and that's not even something we can ponder as a thought right now. That's nothing. Not even something they would ever throw on the table as a possibility.
Yeah, I forgot he was the leadoff hitter to start the season. He was doing pretty good as the leadoff
I
hitter
know, and then he
too.
fell off so hard. Then that's when naturally he
Yeah.
finally started getting slack from the fan base when Boom went out and there wasn't really a target and there
Well,
wasn't like
Stott's been looking good lately, man.
I
And
know I don't want to bag on him or anything. I'm just talking about how fast the season
yeah.
starts. But that's also kind of just uplifting Trey because Trey has really just won that spot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And when you have the career resume of Trey Turner and you're doing this well, it's easy to win and hold that spot. I also wanted to give a shout out to Harrison Bader, who I think he's looked really good, man. He had 3 hits the other day. He had another hit today. I think he's looking good.
He honestly makes me
I
feel the
like
most
his
comfortable.
defense out there.
Of the outfield platoon, he honestly makes me feel the most comfortable of like possibly negating a sac fly because I feel like he has a really strong arm out there and
Yeah.
pretty much always puts it on target. It's not always the greatest throw, like strength wise, but it usually gets to the target. He doesn't really make errors. Like the other day, I mean, I was going to ask you what you thought about how we snuck Kyle Schwarber out onto the field, but one of the worst plays of the entire game was a decision that was pretty much like happened because of that decision where we had a Bryce at DH and then Weston Wilson when he was playing first on that
Yeah.
that routine ball right at him just throws just a dinger off. I mean it was kind of a crazy play, but the throw really wasn't on target anyway. So it probably would have been an errant throw anyway, but that got runners. We had just scored 3 runs the prior inning, and then now we got runners with no outs and second and third base. You can't have that, especially from a guy like Weston Wilson. Like you can't have that. As in, like if Weston Wilson's going to be out there in any capacity, he cannot be making that significant of an error. That's just insane.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like you obviously got to give Bryce Harper some rest at some point, and it's better
No,
if
that's
you
what I'm
leave
like.
him
I
in.
want to sneak. I want to be able to sneak it, but like that can't happen.
Well, what I was gonna say is obviously you're gonna have to give Bryce Harper some rest at some point, and ideally you want to DH him when you do that. But I think I much prefer the option of putting Bohm over at first and putting Sosa at third. That's something they've done in the past. Bohm's gotten plenty of reps at first base, especially when Harper was hurt earlier. And I think that's the better way to go. But hey, talk about Weston Wilson, a guy, I've been very low on. I think you have as well. Even he's been hitting well lately. I feel like
I
everyone.
just like, what do you think this? Do you think he's place holding right now? Do you think they're really just trying to polish Otto Kemp up so he can get called back up in September and really get him the most amount of experience so he's not out of the lineup or platooning? Because they already know it's going to be tough anyway because Edmundo's playing so much himself where Otto's kind of limited. Like we test him out in the outfield, but he's really more so of a versatile infielder than he is like an outfielder, even though he is manageable out there. And I feel comfortable, but it's probably not the best option. He's more of an infielder.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something we've talked about before, right? It makes more sense to keep Otto Kemp in AAA where he can play every day for now, and then bring him back up possibly in September. Although, I mean, right now, and continue to just spiral from one topic to another, but right now with September call-ups looming, there are a plethora of guys that could ideally get called up, and they're only allowed 2. I mean, you look at Kemp as
Well,
a
I mean, you already
possibility.
know one has to get designated for the biggest news that we have yet to bring up, but we will talk about very soon. But
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, like, Kemp is a possibility. Rojas is a possibility. Crawford is a possibility. I mean, I still can't believe he's not in the bigs yet. Painter is a possibility. He's pitched well lately. He's been looking better, which is fantastic to see. There's a lot of different guys that could bring up in September, and I don't know.
Well, obviously, what we're referencing.
Not Aiden Miller's still not ready, but
what we're referencing is the news the Phillies got the other day, which was heartbreaking, but kind of something that we didn't expect in this capacity, but we thought something could be leading to down this line with Zach Wheeler. His blood clot escalated, and he's going to be out for 6 to 8 months. Potentially with this injury of thoracic outlet syndrome. Philadelphia sports fans have been haunted by this folktale of a medical issue. Now we take it very seriously, but back in the day, we actually kind of brushed it off and, didn't take it as serious as it was. And now we kind of know the severity that it could lead to. We kind of just thought Markel Fultz was, saying all this crazy stuff and he's making up syndromes and injuries. But we know now that it's happening to a Philadelphia sports legend that everybody's taking it a lot more seriously. But it's crazy that we heard this term being the issue for another Philadelphia athlete. I don't even remember another athlete in all the sports I've ever heard deal with this in like a high level. You know what I mean? And now it's happened to a first overall pick that the Sixers selected and their franchise pitcher. I mean, it's pretty crazy, but prayers out to Zach Wheeler. But getting back to September call-ups and tying that into that, I feel like that one of those two spots has to be obligated to finding a solution for the Zach Wheeler huge loss that they just suffered.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, they currently have 5 other.
And also, you have to keep in mind real quickly before you go on, you already know Jose's not going to be on the roster, even though you're using him now and he's a part of the roster for the next couple months. So that's somebody you're going to pluck off. So that also gives you an extra spot of somebody that you're currently using a lot.
Yeah, that is a good point. But as it stands right now, you have 5 starters. And in my opinion, you have 5 good starters, right? And as a matter of fact, as crazy as it is to say, I mean, the starter that I'm the least confident in right now, and I still have some confidence in him, is Jesus Luzardo, right? Because Christopher Sanchez, obviously Cy Young candidate. Ranger Suarez, he looked great for most of the year, then looked bad for a bit. His most recent start was excellent. Aaron Nola, a guy who looked awful all year, came back from injury, got lit up his first start. It was his first start after injury. Looked great his most recent start, and has
three from Nola. It's not like you're not getting Wheeler. You're not getting 1 over 7. Like 3 from Nola is good. I'll take that.
Yeah, and Nola, he's proven himself in the postseason before. He has the career resume, and then you have Taijuan Walker, who, in my opinion, is having a very, very good season. I would definitely.
It was a little rough. I think, what was it, last start or 2 starts ago? It got a little bit rough for him out there, but it was early. But the thing about him is he's always been really tough.
Just to finish what I was saying real fast, if the Phillies, let's say they play a game tomorrow, I mean, obviously they are playing a game tomorrow, but what I'm saying is, let's say they play a game tomorrow. And I don't know, let's say it's an important game. It can clinch the postseason for them. This is all hypothetical. And they have their pick of 2 starters they can roll out for that game, Taijuan Walker or Jesus Luzardo. I'm picking Taijuan Walker right now. But even so, Jesus Luzardo is a good starter. He's having a good year, in my opinion. So it's not like you need to replace Wheeler in the rotation, because before he got hurt, the latest news update on the starting rotation was they were going to roll with a 6-man rotation for the time being. So losing him, all that does is it just brings it back to a 5-man rotation. So I don't know if that means we're going to see some Andrew Painter action before the postseason. Maybe they bring up a reliever, or maybe they bring up Painter and put him in the bullpen. I don't know.
Well, that's also something, like we said, Jose just came back for that game. He came back and actually pitched the top. Yeah, it was the top of the 8th in that crazy game where they had all that offensive production versus the Mariners. That was his debut back. So he looked pretty good, but you just know that.
Well, he didn't look good today. I know you didn't watch the game today, but he came in.
No, I know. I'm just referencing that he did come back, so he is actually back. but like we said, he's not going to be available
Yeah.
for. So going into this year in 2025, Dante, if I told you Zach Wheeler and Jose Alvarado weren't going to be available for the Phillies in the postseason, what would you tell me?
Going into the year, yeah, because I mean,
I'm saying the two best pitchers on the roster going into the year
I
are
would
literally
say
not
we're
available.
cooked. I would say we're cooked.
Yeah.
But right now I don't think so. I mean, obviously losing Zach Wheeler, it lowers your chances in the postseason, especially with how crucial Zach Wheeler has been to each and every postseason run for the Phillies since 2022. But and here's the thing, like one thing I was talking to my brother about, because he thinks the season's over, but one thing he was saying is, very rarely do you lose your franchise pitcher for the season and still have postseason success or still win the World Series? And my counter to that is very rarely do you lose your franchise pitcher and then you still have a Cy Young candidate to throw out there on the mound. Yeah. So even though they've lost Wheeler, they still have excellent starting pitching. And not only that, the three guys they used in that series against Seattle, one of the best offenses in the league, an offense featuring the big dumper and Eugenio Suarez.
They had the most. They struck them out 52 times?
Yeah. How many? Let me do some quick math. Eugenio Suarez and Cal Raleigh have a combined this season 87 home runs between the two of them.
But everybody kind of predicted it, and it has happened. Eugenio's hit less than 10 since being with the Mariners. He's completely.
But my point is, he's a great offense. Yeah. And our starting pitching was lights out against them en route to a sweep. So I think we still have great starting pitching. I think the offense is as hot as I've ever seen it. Everybody's.
They also have called up. They just called up David Robertson too. So that's another arm.
Yeah, and David Robertson, man, for a 40-year-old, man, he looks good. And not to mention the man himself. And this could be our final Phillies topic. I don't know if you have anything else to talk about, but the man himself, Yohan Duran, who's been absolutely phenomenal since coming here. He has one blown save. It's going to happen at some point. No one's perfect unless you're 08 Brad Lidge. And
I was going to say that we're spoiled because of that. People don't understand. Yohan Duran is a more talented player than Brad Lidge, but there's nothing like that 2008 season where he went perfect. That is insane. Because Albert Pujols
miracle run than just display.
Because also, if you watch other playoff history, and also Brad Lidge had some bad moments before even coming to the Phillies, like that Albert Pujols 3-run bomb that he gave up in the playoffs that one game when he was with the Astros.
Not only that, but obviously Lidge's nickname was Lights Out Lidge. Me and my father, we used to call him Heart Attack Lidge because even though he closed out all 48 save opportunities, I don't think any of them looked pretty. Yeah. It's like when Duran comes out to shut the door in the ninth and he gets it done, he'll strike out 2 out of 3 batters. He'll allow a shallow fly ball and he'll look dominant. When Lidge would come out, he would let guys on base. He would give up a run or two. He would always make you think he was about to blow the save right before he pulled it out. And so that was the thing about Lidge is just, he wasn't as talented as Duran. He didn't have the overwhelming stuff Duran has. He just always found a way to get it done.
Yeah. Do you think people just think that bullpen arms can get cooked really quickly just in general? That's why maybe a guy like Duran was even available, or maybe the Phillies, because I'm thinking how much I'd want Sir Anthony in this bullpen right now, just to provide some insurance. Do you think the Phillies just thought it was Jose or Sir Anthony? These two guys just can't be this good together with us for a long stretch of time. That's just too far fetched to think. Do you think people GMs actually think that way?
I don't know about that.
Because even Chapman's, how many teams has Chapman played for, and he's still throwing 104? Like, how could you not want that on your team? Like,
yeah, that's crazy. And I love that we have Duran under not technically under contract for a few more years, under team control for.
But what if we would have just traded for Chapman in the beginning of July for something a lot smaller than at the deadline, and then still got Duran? Like, imagine how this bullpen looks with two.
Well, right. I mean, right now. This bullpen, I mean, with Alvarado not being able to pitch in the postseason, a lefty is what this bullpen's in need of. Because right now you have three.
Strom.
Well, yeah,
he doesn't do it for me. He was, he's too up and down. He's not the same player that it seemed like that year was just an outlier year when he made the All-Star team. It just seemed like he was really vibing. And you know how the All-Star game goes, especially for a bullpen guy. I mean, he starts off the season hot for a couple months, and then he's tailed off. It wasn't even just that moment. He tailed off at the end of that season as well, and it just hasn't been the same. I feel better about Tanner Banks, honestly, than I feel about.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna get into. Is like right now you have three righties you can lean on. You got Duran, you got Kerkering. Kerkering, by the way, picked up a save today, which I love to see because I'm just a big fan of Kerkering. Even though he gave up the home run, he got the save, which is good for him. But right now you got Duran, Kerkering, and Robertson. Those are three righties that I trust. And then in terms of lefties, for the postseason, you just have Strom and Banks. You don't really have anyone else, any other lefties you can lean on. So I think
that's why, I mean, it's going to be even harder to sell it now. But I mean, at the end of the day, you need three starters. They have 5 starters in their rotation right now.
Obviously, I guess move Luzardo to the.
It's going to be Ranger or Luzardo. It's just going to have.
It's got to listen. It's got to be
Taiwan's already. Taiwan has
Ranger. I think I told this to you. It was over the phone. I looked at Ranger Suarez's career ERA in the postseason. It's 1.3. Let that man pitch.
Yeah. Also, some of that has come in that role too, though. A part of that.
Some of it has. But that was at first, and he's started.
One thing is, it's most likely going to have to be one of those guys because they're a lefty, just for the literal left hand. But Taiwan's going to go back there too. So Taiwan's already accepted it as well.
Taiwan in the bullpen. He does not pitch well in the bullpen.
But he's also. But I know. But yeah, it's tough to get somebody coming because if they have an injury to anybody on there and he has to come back, then trying to transition him back if he's needed that way is going to be really tough. But maybe he goes 3 in the beginning of a game and he long relieves, but he's like 3 in the beginning. He's a starter, but he's actually, you know what I mean? He's actually like a bullpen game, but they're starting off with 3. Taiwan.
I wouldn't hate something like that.
Like Noah Syndergaard, they did that in the World Series. Like, you know what I mean? Like they played that role before.
The one final thing I want to say about Duran. So, the game he blew, the save he blew, he gave up a couple doubles down the line. And then his most recent appearance where he did close it out, he started off by giving up a couple doubles down the line. And Lenny Dykstra tweeted something out that wasn't even something I had thought of, but after reading it, I'm like, oh, wow, well, that's pretty obvious. Is when you have a guy throwing 103.
I know exactly what you're about to say.
Yeah, when you have a guy throwing 103, the hitter at the plate, if they're going to put it in play, they're most likely going to be late on their swing. And in turn, it's going to go down the line. So really, you should be playing your defender closer to the line in anticipation of that. And in my opinion, the proof is in the pudding because they are hitting it down the line on him quite a bit. And if they just play closer to the line, then we're looking at Yohan Duran, who has still yet to give up a run. Well,
he also, on those 2 pitches, too, I actually thought you were going a different route. On those 2 pitches, too, he said, even after the game, like they asked him what he thought went wrong, he left him over the plate. With a guy that throws that hard, if you can just time it up and swing as fast as you possibly can and anything catches over the plate, that's pretty much what you're going to do with the ball. You know what I mean? But obviously, if you're late on your swing as well and the way you're able to directionally hit it, you have to be mindful of that as a defense. But they're still trying to adjust a game plan to the way he pitches as well. So it's been 5 total appearances or 6 now?
And the other thing I want to say about that too is people were in Dykstra's replies talking about, oh, well, Rob Thompson's an idiot or this or that. And like, bro, He is the only pitcher we've ever had who throws this fast. So
He immediately
I
came.
don't
He
expect
came
the
in first
Phillies.
20 pitches were like the 10 fastest out of his first
Yeah,
15
like
pitches, 10 fastest in Phillies history. And then the ones that weren't were pitches he wasn't trying to throw fast. He's still throwing in the mid 90s.
yeah, exactly. So I don't I don't fault the Phillies coaching for not knowing how to strategize your team defensively when you have a guy on the mound who throws that fast because they've never dealt with that
Yeah.
before. So it's
You
like
know how
at the
much
end of the
harder,
day,
like we take it for granted. If we didn't have JT back there, JT saying that it's hard to catch. Imagine like someone that's not the best catcher in the league, arguably. You know what I mean? That's back there trying to catch the ball. Like
yeah. Yeah,
even
and
Marshawn. I mean,
how
I don't know
about
if I don't think Marshawn's it because JT's playing so well. I don't even think Marshawn's had a chance to catch Johan. Has he? I don't think he has.
I
I
don't
don't
know
think he has.
because Marshawn was behind the plate today, and obviously no Duran. He had the day off, but that was the final thing I wanted to say. Marshawn had a great performance today. Drove in all three of the Phillies runs, and depending on how much stock you put into a pitching depending how much stock you put into the catcher behind the dish during a great pitching performance, you can also add that to the great day that
Yeah, he
Rafael
had
Marshawn
that
had.
wasn't his. I mean, there's 162 games. They all blend in together, especially the afternoon games. But remember a couple months ago, I think it was like a month and a half ago, or maybe somewhere between like 6 to 8 weeks ago, he had that afternoon game where he had 2 or 3 RBIs and like 2 or 3 hits, and
Yeah,
that and
and
that was
that's
a
the thing.
breakout game for him.
And that's the thing. When I say everyone's saying, well, even Marshawn is, man,
Dude,
they
the other
all
day
are.
when they had that offensive explosion, I counted it. Their 7 through 9 hitters had like 8 hits combined, and then Trey had 5 at the top. So that's
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, and then Trey coming back up with the 5. Like that's insane.
And not only that, but right now, the 1 through 3 of Turner, Schwarber, Harper is just deadly.
That's
Uh,
it's like if you said that to somebody like a couple years ago and you said that's your 1, 2, 3, they're like, what are you talking? Like that's the best in baseball. Like that's the way
yeah,
they're playing. Like they're playing up to name value right
yeah,
now. Like they're playing exactly
absolutely.
like they're the guys
Well,
in
I
their.
would say Schwarber is playing even above name value, right? Because before coming to the Phillies, he had never hit above 100 RBI before, never hit above 45 homers in the season before. Since becoming a Philly, this has been the best Schwarber has ever played in his career. So I would say they're even playing above name value.
You know, it's so funny too. Is like a lot of the Schwarber home runs. It's so funny. I'll be watching the game, but I have something else going on. I'm having a conversation with somebody, or I'm listening to something, and I have the game muted, and I just look up, and I'm not watching the screen for a second. He's just rounding second, just trotting around, and I'm just like, oh, I just missed another Schwarber.
Yeah.
It's happened to me 9 times this year.
Well, I'll tell
That's how
you,
many
I'll
home
tell
runs
you
he's hit
one.
because I've watched all the other home runs, but I've missed like 10, but I've still seen like 40. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
just
and I'll tell
insane the
you,
pace he's on. And
I'll
he's
tell
also
you.
been durable too. I mean, he's been healthy. Obviously, he's the DH, but he's a guy that they can rely on to be there pretty much every day, producing like that.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one funny thing before I give my meatball of the week. So I was watching a game with my father in his garage a couple weeks ago, and Schwarber had already homered in the game, and then we're watching the game in the garage, and Schwarber's coming up to bat, and I like walked over to his fridge in the garage to grab a LaCroix, and like we were about to lock in for this AB because it's Kyle Schwarber. He already has a homer, and my dad's like, I think he's going to go yard again. So I go to grab a LaCroix from the fridge real quick. Before I can even get back from the fridge, Schwarber on the first pitch hits another home run, and I missed
Yeah.
it. So I mean, that's just the crazy pace he's been on
And
this
it's just like
season.
it's funny. Like half the time he drops down to one knee when he does it. Like he's it
Yeah,
doesn't even
yeah,
matter what
he
platform. He's just
he
like
really
if
does
if
best
if
with
the
those
upper
low
matches,
pitches.
like if he just connects with the barrel to the bat, like he could be falling down doing a backflip while he's hitting the ball and still going out of the park. It's
Yeah,
insane.
he
But
does best with pitches lower in the zone.
one last thing before we get out of here. Interesting fact that's a good trend for the Phillies. They have the second biggest divisional lead in all of baseball, the 6 divisions. They're up 7 games. And guess who comes in for a nice little series starting on Monday?
the
I'm not sure if it's home or
we're
away.
traveling.
Yeah, no, that's why I
between.
said it. I'm not sure. Yeah, but we
Yeah.
do get the Mets. So
But that reminds me, there was one topic we almost forgot because at first it was announced we were facing the Mets for this game, but it was announced today that next season the MLB will once again host a Field of Dreams game, and it will be the Philadelphia Phillies versus the Minnesota Twins. I'm pretty excited about that, and I'm really excited to see how. I'm really excited to see what uniforms they break out for that game. If we're going to get to see like the 1915 Philadelphia Phillies.
was that the last the last good thing that Tim Anderson did in the MLB?
Yes.
That walk-off home run.
That's what I was thinking about.
That's honestly one of the sickest moments in MLB history, too. So, if I was him, I wouldn't even care at that point after that. But, yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm going to try and get tickets to that game. It's probably going to be insane to get tickets to, but
You're going to try and get tickets to a game in a cornfield in Iowa?
Yeah, I'm going to try somehow. I'm going to try and find a way. I need to be in that atmosphere, even if they're going to start opening that up to the public.
That's actually
they're talking about having a UFC event on the White House front lawn. You don't think that they're going to be able to sell tickets to a Field of Dreams event?
No, I'm talking about you. That would require you to also travel to Iowa.
No, I know, 100%. Me and Cooper DeJean will go.
I was just about to say, I wonder if Cooper DeJean is going to go to that game. Speaking of Cooper DeJean, him and Big Dom were at Monday Night Raw last week in Philly, there with the Lombardi, and so was I also completely forget that one of the current wrestlers in WWE, Trick Williams, he was part of the Eagles rookie mini camp back in like 2018 as I think as a running back, and didn't end up making the team, and he made an appearance too, referencing that. Oh, and one final Eagles related note from that Monday Night Raw was Nikki Bella was there rocking like some Eagles specialized gear, and she put like the number 2 on it, and I commented on a clip online of it. Known Jahan Dotson enthusiast Nikki Bella, but none of the wrestling fans seem to have gotten that. But anyway, it's now time for my Meatball of the Week. And it's actually a good segue to the Meatball of the Week because I have 2 meatballs this week. But the first meatball also wrestling related because this incident happened at a wrestling event. I just want to make sure I have his first name correct before I say this. Yeah. So the son of Quentin Rampage Jackson, Raja Jackson, was at a wrestling event recently to where his spot was he was supposed to power slam somebody and then punch him once and then move on. But apparently he had prior beef with this guy. And after he punched him once for real, he then continued to punch his unconscious body many, many times. The guy ended up going to the hospital. They weren't sure if he was going to live or die yet. I think he's now supposed to live. But Raja Jackson has now found himself in a world of trouble where he could be going to prison for attempted murder, which in my opinion, he should. The man was unconscious and he continued to wail on him. It was kind of disturbing to see. That's my first meatball of the week. Not very lighthearted, but my second meatball is a bit more lighthearted. However, this guy also
let me comment on that real quick because I actually was thinking about bringing it up myself because I obviously do a lot of MMA content, and Rampage Jackson's a big time figure in the MMA world. So he's also, for people that don't know, if you have ever seen the viral clip on The Ultimate Fighter, you may not have watched The Ultimate Fighter yourself, but maybe the most viral clip in the history, besides the Vanderlei Silva and Chael Sonnen run-in where they're trying to fight each other. The other most viral clip is Rampage Jackson punching through that door. So, that's entirely different. Rampage Jackson has never done. Rampage Jackson in a one championship where this is legal to do to somebody has slammed somebody to the ground in an MMA fight and knocked them out cold with a body slam, but he's never done anything to that extent. So, he actually didn't condemn. He actually was shown a video on stream. He was with another popular streamer. I forget his name. The dude that went in the ring with Sean Strickland. whatever that guy's name is, and actually took it a little bit good from Sean Strickland, but didn't get knocked out. That kid, he was live with him. I think his name's Sneeko or something like that. He was live on and was showing the video, and he didn't condemn him, and he said that he's going to be in a world of trouble. But also there was a video of that guy like not knowing that Jackson the son was not a wrestler, and he was at an event streaming, and he hit him in the side of the head with a beer can, and unexpectedly without Jackson's consent or anything. So he said that he was upset about that. They kind of had an encounter there, but then apparently they shook it out. But that a moment like that made me realize how like almost I'm desensitized at times from like MMA, because I watch people, get pummeled, but a ref steps in after a couple shots.
Yeah, and that's the thing
and I hate that. I tell people,
and also there were people in the ring there too, and one guy almost pulled him off at one point, and then like stopped, and then like 5 punches later, then pulled him off.
Well, no, they also the thing that people don't understand is like Rampage Jackson is one of the like best fighters of all time. His son is highly trained, even though he's very young. Like none of those dudes inside those ring, like it would sadly enough be a similar result if they stepped in. Like they were trying to do their best. Like you can't. I mean, like.
Yeah, but you still got it. But I mean,
I know it's tough to even talk about, but it's just because like as crazy as it is to say, like those shots that he took were so unbelievably accurate. That's how scary that it was how accurate those shots were actually landing. Yeah. That's how scary it was. So, but yeah, that's just like I always tell people I love watching like trained professionals fight, but like when you see something like that, that's when it's like as much as I see people in situations similar to that, I hate watching that. Especially when no one's there to actually step in and actually be able to stop a situation like that. And they're not, it's unexpected. So that's just a tough situation. So we'll see what happens with that. But I feel like all the details need to be laid out. I'm not picking either side. I think I'm definitely, that was unreal that happened to that man. Hopefully he's all right. And we'll see what happens with Jackson, but that's just a real unfortunate situation.
Especially going back to the prior beef with the beer can. So, like that incident that was being live streamed, right? But that was that wrestler who hit him with the beer can. That was him being in character.
No, 100%. Yeah. No, but but it's also a very fine.
My bad, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. They shook it out, so like. So and even so, nothing excuses that. But
no, it definitely doesn't. But
moving on to the next meatball of the week, a guy who also is my meatball for throwing a punch, this time just one punch. But my next meatball of the week is Shiloh Sanders. Shiloh Sanders, of course, trying to compete and make a roster spot in the NFL. And then during a preseason, gets into an altercation with another player, throws a punch at him, gets ejected, and ultimately gets cut from the team. Which, by the way, why are you throwing a punch while he is wearing a helmet? What does that accomplish?
At least take the helmet off. At least take the helmet off and beat him over the head with it, like Myles
Garrett. Yeah,
exactly.
So
Shiloh really punched his ticket out of Tampa Bay. You know what I mean? So, and they responded with another hand gesture and gave him a nice little wave off the roster. You know what I mean? Yeah. So unfortunate, but. Unfortunately, Shiloh, 25 years old, he was already against. He's already an older, undrafted rookie, and he was a solid player in college. He's not NFL talent. It's just the sad reality of the situation. Yeah. So, his brother has an opportunity. Obviously, made the Browns roster. So, shout out to Shador. But Shiloh's run in the NFL has probably come to an end.
Shout out to the man who's going to start on that team. I got to give him a shout out because this is the Paisan Sports podcast. But speaking of, earlier we were talking about 40-year-olds who still have it. The starter for the Cleveland Browns this season will, in fact, be the 40-year-old Joe Flacco. So shout out to our Paisan from South Jersey.
Yeah, him, Patullo, Sirianni, what's his name? Fangio. Fangio was there. I'm pretty sure Fangio was the coach when he went to Denver.
And Fangio is also from the area, too.
Yeah, so they're all, And obviously, I got the connections to Joe, so that's my guy. So shout out to him. Also, he cooked. Did you see the stats of him in the last joint practice versus the Eagles' first team defense? Just straight up carved them up. Like went 9 for 13 with 2 touchdowns and just carved up our defense in the last.
Oh, I didn't even see
yeah.
that.
So there's some issues with the Eagles roster right now. They're making some moves, trying to figure out the pieces here. But going into the season for a defending champion, do you think it actually may be an issue? I don't want to start off the Eagles topic sounding like I'm afraid.
You're gonna start off with a WIP topic.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that did sound like a WIP segment. What time is it? Yeah, it's 9:39. I'm getting ready for my 10 o'clock radio slate here. I'm pitching you some ideas, but this is actually fair though. Is cornerback actually an issue? Because it seems like they're kind of scrambling to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. Yeah, I do really like what I see out of Jacorian Bennett. I didn't even end up watching the entire game Friday night because, the Phillies were also on.
Yeah, I caught myself flipping between both, but once like the Phillies game
started,
I
was flipping between both, but Kyle McCord started pissing me off so much that I just stuck with the Phillies.
Great catch from Mechie on the first play though. He literally snagged the ball straight out of the air, and that was like a grown man moment. Like I should not be playing in the third preseason game with these third string guys type moment.
Although he did drop a pass later, and we'll get back to that,
yeah.
But. Going back to the corner too, I mean, right now I do like Jacorian Bennett. He's got to switch his number. I know he's going to, but my God, he needs to switch that number.
I mean, hey, if you can make 40 cool, it looks really cool.
It's 49, isn't it?
Was Antonio Cromartie 41? No, he was 31.
No, I think Bennett is 49 right now. It's a disgusting.
I know. I'm saying like a 40 number. There's been a good.
But 40. But 40. Even I could see 42, maybe. I could even see 44 working, but 49.
Your boy used to rock 42. Remember for how many years for Dallas? Who? Terrence Newman. Remember Terrence Newman for 10 years was rocking 42 for Dallas when we were growing up.
I don't even remember. I just remember Terrence Newman on the Vikings, honestly. But
I was at the end of his career. But
yeah, but he looked good. He looked good on
the Eagles cornerback 2 situation. I mean, it's also a situation where they opened up and created a void that they may not be able to fill. And I saw early rumblings. I haven't been keeping up with it. And obviously, he's not going to play deep into the preseason. But early on in camp, people were saying at Steelers camp that Darius Slay was the best defensive player on the field.
Yeah, I know. I think Slay is the guy they should have kept around, or at least Isaiah Rodgers. I had a lot of confidence at the end of the season in Kelee Ringo. Most of that confidence has now faded. Right now, I'm an advocate for Jacorian Bennett to be our corner 2, or to move DeJean to the outside, put Makuba in the nickel and start Sidney Brown.
Well, we have to be able to rely on Makuba first because he's had 3 injuries now that he's dealt with on 3 different types of injuries too. So as much as he's making plays, he's also been a little banged up. Also, we did a little bit, but they were banged up a receiver. Just with AJ Brown throughout camp with the back, and then Smitty missed some time too, but Smitty's been more available than AJ. But the John Mechie trade just wasn't like a grabbing a guy for talent. I mean, it happened. We talked about how the timing was where they got him right as Johnny Wilson got hurt, but they also
it was before Johnny Wilson got hurt. I feel like the Howie Roseman dark magic is now extending into future telling abilities. It's insane.
They also just did not feel confident
for Mechie. We got on this podcast, and I was like, well, what wide receivers do you keep now? We have too many. And then Johnny Wilson's out for the year, and it's like, did Howie see this coming?
I'm just scared if they put Cooper on the practice squad, someone's going to snag him because there's going to be a bad team that's desperate. That's just
I saw somebody posted. I think it was Shore Parks. He posted his final 53-man roster prediction, and he had Cooper on there instead of Aeneas Smith, which I thought was.
I was just about to. I mean, if you're looking at pure talent, which they might have the luxury of just looking at it that way, based off of just who's already at that position on the roster, they could probably go that way. How would you? I mean, we haven't even mentioned a guy that played a lot. I mean, Elijah Cooks was making some plays in the preseason too, and throughout preseason in general throughout all the games in camp, but he's probably not going to make the team. But Terrence Marshall is also a guy that, like, is like right on that tier in that bubble, right with Aeneas Smith.
We have so many that I even forgot about Terrence Marshall.
Yeah, we got Dotson, Mechie. I feel like Dotson, Mechie, obviously AJ Smitty, and then you probably like really want to keep Cooper, and then it's going to come down to those other guys. Johnny was in the mix, but all those other, that last spot is going to, and Aeneas has the advantage of playing, of being able to return too as well. So that's an advantage that he lies. So maybe they just keep him that way and don't even see him as a receiver, like just more so as a returner, and that's why he's on the roster. But he also looks good with the ball in his hands at times too. So it's a tough, and they spent a draft pick on him. And it's still
I don't know what they're going to end up doing with the wide receivers. However, I do know what they're going to end up doing with the quarterbacks, because this is another interesting situation now, right? Because obviously Tanner McKee's your QB2, but then he gets hurt with a finger injury where he's likely not going to be ready for week 1. So you need a good backup in place for week 1 just in case anything happens. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, dog shit, not even an option. He's going to get cut. And so then you wheel out Kyle McCord Friday night. All right, Kyle, show us something. Show us we can trust you if something happens to Hurts Thursday night against the Cowboys. Now, I will say he made some nice throws that were inevitably dropped. I don't think his completion percentage tells the full story, but either way,
I don't want to pivot. What we're talking about right now, but just real quick note as well. Also, something that was very apparent in the preseason game, especially right off the get-go for Kyle McCord, Kendall Lamb, that left tackle play was horrible. That's why they probably went out and made those tackle moves today, because Kendall Lamb was getting
so I'll get into that.
The whole game.
We'll get into that next. But Kyle McCord basically, just still did not play well Friday night, all things considered. So
it seems like he has good rhythm. Doesn't it seem like he has good rhythm, and then he just sails a ball out of nowhere, and it's just a pick and a turnover, like a drastic turnover out of nowhere?
So the one interception was like, what were you even doing?
I know, but he has good flow. He's running the offense, and then it's just like out of nowhere, just not even in the vicinity.
Rhythm. He's got good rhythm. I will give you that, but still, he's not ready right now to be 100%. A backup quarterback. But I do like his potential. I do.
The good thing about him is they probably will be able to keep him on the practice squad. And
I don't think anyone's.
He's a 6th-round pick. Anybody could have had him for that, and he hasn't shown anything the preseason that's going to make somebody like, oh, I need to go run and add him to my 53-man roster. So it's almost a
good thing he had such a big game Friday.
He's also, it's not Dorian Thompson-Robinson who's 4 years into the league doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, this is his first NFL play.
And he looks at least better than Thompson-Robinson. But continuing on here, so not being able to trust McCord, the Eagles go out and they make a trade for Vikings quarterback Sam Howell to be our QB2 until McKee is good and ready to go.
They said McKee's not going to be out for that long, but it's the thumb.
Yeah, it'll be like for a week. He'll have like a week as being QB2, and then he'll obviously slide down.
Sam Howell's also somebody that lit up the Eagles a couple years ago when he was the Washington starter. He threw that was the game where he threw the touchdown at the end of regulation to tie the game, and they ended up winning in overtime. That was also the Nicholas Morrow 3-sack game, I think. That's when he went completely berserk for the Eagles. And we were in just linebacker hell. I think that was 2023. That had to be, because that was when Nicholas Morrow was like the feature backer. So that was only 2 years ago. I'm surprised they didn't try and get Drew Luck on the roster for the way that he did them in 2023 as well. But solid play. He's still young. They're a quarterback factory. Don't forget that. That's a big statement of the Howie Roseman regime. That's something that, people will never let him live down, that statement that he said, and they're always making and trying to upgrade and keep that position afloat. They kept signing Ian Book back to the roster a couple years ago, just to make sure they had insurance. And I forgot
all about Ian Book.
So being a Notre Dame guy, I know Ian Book, but most people don't really know who Ian Book is. So they're always just keeping. They might be the most active team in that position of not changing it franchise wise, but going out and just making the little moves at the quarterback position. They traded for Kenny Pickett, traded Kenny Pickett, got DTR back, waived DTR, and then traded for another quarterback. And then obviously the history with Sam Bradford, Carson Wentz. I mean, they might have the most quarterback trades of any team in the past 10 years.
Yeah. And
There's trades in general. I mean, they're
a
always
lot of idiotic Eagles fans on Twitter are saying like, "Oh, this means we're trading Tanner McKee now." No, it doesn't. Just no, it freaking doesn't. Or they're saying, I saw somebody I'll see people who aren't Eagles fans saying making jokes that the Eagles oh, this is your backup quarterback, ha ha ha, after trading for Sam Howell. And it's no, it's I don't know, people are so nearsighted, it's just insane.
I mean, Sam Howell, would be what, at least a top 15 backup quarterback if he was.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. Sam Howell is a quality backup.
He's probably a top 42 quarterback in the entire NFL.
It's just insane to me when one little move happens and people forget about the big picture. It's kind of like how in the offseason when the Eagles will sign a depth piece at defensive tackle, and then people will comment something stupid being well, what about Jalen Carter? And it's what? You know what I mean? It's people are saying stuff along those lines of just not understanding the big picture behind everything.
Real quick shout out just popped in my brain. The first time that we've ever seen this dude flash in an Eagles uniform on the field, Georgia Bulldog. I don't know if you saw, Lewis Cine got a diving interception for the Eagles.
I did not end up catching that. Wow. Shout out to him.
Diving interception. It was a very, very bad throw, but he wasn't completely in the area and actually dove in full extension, caught the ball, and intercepted it. So it kind of showed how big he actually is. He's gigantic. He's 6'2", kind of like how we were surprised when McCollum ended up being 6'3", and we were like, "Whoa, we didn't know that McCollum was listed that huge." It was crazy, but. Yeah, that's another position, too, that they opened up a void.
Wait, hold on, because before we move on, the one final thing I need to say about the whole quarterback situation. After trading Sam Howell to the Philadelphia Eagles, the Vikings were left without a backup quarterback. So what did they do? They went out on the free agent market, and they signed the man himself, Carson Wentz. Which I think is interesting because, you look at a guy like J.J. McCarthy, who obviously, upon being drafted, was surely to be the Vikings' eventual franchise quarterback, great quarterback coming out of college, guaranteed to take the reins. But then, when you deal with that kind of injury, you sit out for a year, you come back. Obviously, he's going to be the starter, but, who knows what's going to happen? I feel like there is a chance we might end up seeing Carson Wentz at some point this season.
It's so crazy. Carson Wentz was on this roster 5 years ago. It hasn't really been that long, honestly.
And what's also crazy is Carson Wentz's new home will now be the home where he watched his backup win a Lombardi for the Philadelphia Eagles. The exact moment that, when you combine it with the injury, is what derailed Carson Wentz's career.
Well, he's actually been getting good jobs recently. He was backing up all serious contenders. He was on Kansas City last year. He was on the Rams in 2023. He was the Washington quarterback before they figured out the pivot. He was the Washington quarterback the year before Sam was the quarterback, and then they moved to Jaden Daniels. So, I think Sam actually took over for him at some point in the season. But, glad to see Carson still in the league. So, he could easily
shout out to Carson.
He could easily have just never played football after the Washington experience ever again. So, for him to get back on the field, and he's still making money. The backup quarterbacks still make bread, so he's just out there probably not going to play.
I was kind of just for the memes. I was kind of hoping he would get signed as a backup on the Eagles, just to go the Nick Foles route of Rams, Chiefs, and then back to the Eagles. I thought that would have been kind of funny. But
that's a little far fetched. I just saw an old tweet of Carson Wentz saying, "We got to bring the young fella out for some cheesesteaks," and he added Jaleel Okafor and Ben Simmons, and I was like, "Oh man, oh man!" And I had, like I said, when I referenced it with the Zach Wheeler news, I had massive Markelle Fultz flashback, so I was already feeling horrible about that with that whole situation, but at least we were with those Carson, it started off obviously we win the Super Bowl year 2 and he gets hurt, but everything after that, I mean, when he drug us to the playoffs in 2018, but some of those games, remember the Titans game that year in Tennessee, how excruciating that loss was, the 4th-and-20 play, and just some of those games, like the Miami game where I think it led us to 5-7, and Devontae Parker just completely destroyed us that game. Like those type of games when Carson was there were really, really tough to sit through. But the Eagles aren't in that situation anymore. And even with us talking about needing possibly some reinforcements at corner or safety, we know overall this team is going to be really good. And I actually just placed a bet because there was an odds boost. I placed a bet for them to go 5-0 to start the season. It was plus 1,000 because I feel like we haven't really taken into the effect of how hard this schedule actually is to begin the season for the Eagles. It's actually pretty crazy.
Listen, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about the difficulty of the schedule, right?
I mean, but if we're being serious, they're game 1 Cowboys. That's not going to be easy. They're going to win, but that's not going to be easy.
Well, no. What I'm about to say is they do have what you would consider a very difficult schedule, right? Now, but here's the thing, man. We're the defending champs, right? So I don't like hearing that because, when other teams are looking at their schedule and they see that Eagles logo on the schedule, they're thinking, oh, that's going to be a really tough game, right? So, I mean?
Yeah, but they also say
we're the team to be feared. We're not the team to
No, I agree. But someone that thinks logically
Walter
too.
White said, I am the one who knocks. We are the one who knocks. So I'm just tired of hearing about.
When you think logically about the schedule and you see the schedule, you see as another team, you would also say to yourself, yeah, we fear that Eagles logo. But when we see them, they're coming off a stretch of games where they had just played the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Rams, the Buccaneers, the Broncos. I mean, that's those 4, I mean, the Cowboys, if you take the Cowboys out, yeah, that's fair. But weeks 2 through 5.
If Michael plays or not,
Yeah, but Chiefs, Rams, Bucks, Broncos, that's tough. That's tough to begin the year.
That is tough. It is, but, listen, I think in my opinion, how good we are this season all relies on how good the cornerback 2 position is, right? Because you can have an elite defense at every position, but if you have a bad corner anywhere on that field, they're just going to get abused the entire game, and it's going to derail an entire defense. So that's the only thing making me nervous going into this season is that corner 2 position. So we'll see how it plays out.
Well, that kind of just made me think. Do you think you would agree if I told you that they've had a guy or 2 every year on defense for the last 5 years emerge that hasn't really been on the radar? Because I feel like that's actually only been a trend for the past 2 years. Because we were kind of lost with no young talent besides the solidified Darius Slays and Brandon Grants for a while until we got Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis.
Yeah, but those were all high picks that you expected to make an impact, like Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean.
Well, we were also really hype on Nakobe, but Nakobe being a 3rd-round pick and playing the way he did when he actually was healthy in that 3rd year, I mean, he broke out because he couldn't be trusted.
Yeah, and so did Vaughn. But
Well, last year was a whole different story. They had 4 different guys. I mean, Quinyon as a rookie, Coop when he got in, Zach obviously, and then
Nakobe.
You can even throw Jalen taking his game to the whole nother level too of being one of the best defensive. Yeah, Nolan, 100%. Yeah,
Jalen's Hunt. He's Moro Jomo.
Jalix Hunt.
Yeah, Jalix Hunt, Moro Jomo. So we'll see how it shapes out. Now,
but when they first drafted, when they got Hurts on the roster, and they were really in no man's land when we made the playoffs, when we were 2-5, everyone on that Thursday night game when they played Tampa Bay screaming, run the ball. We ran the ball twice. It's Sirianni's first year. He's under immense pressure. We end up making the playoffs, committing to the run after that week, and we get beat by the Buccaneers. But also, we didn't really have too much going on. I mean, but we drafted Milton Williams, but our defense didn't really have young talent, like I said, like besides Darius, like the young guys weren't like solidifying. Like we were like having journeyman, like we were signing safeties every other year to come play for us. Marcus Epps, you know what I mean? Like guys that we might have had on the roster and then left the roster. TJ Edwards left at linebacker. We were caught in no man's land with Nicholas Morrow, Zach Cunningham out of free agency at the linebacker position. We had to sign a bunch of defensive tackles the one year in Ndamukong Suh, Linval Joseph. So we're trying to fill the gaps with all these veterans, but I feel so good about where the Eagles are at because we're not in the spot where we're just like clamoring to throw talent on the roster in the middle of the season. Like we can feel comfortable with the progression of these players that are on our roster moving forward.
That's a good point. The final thing I will say about the corner situation is, you know, in 2023 with James Bradbury playing as poorly as he was playing, you were in a situation where you would just sign him to a new contract. You weren't going to trade him at the deadline or anything. But what I really hope is if you get to the deadline this year and the cornerback 2 position is a real problem, I hope Howie does everything in his power to rectify that because this is a team with a very real chance at repeating.
Yeah, but it also seems like
if you go through half of the season with that position being a huge potential to kill your chance at repeating, you need to get something done about it. So that's the one.
Well, they could have did some things this offseason, but they also showed with not going after Myles Garrett, even though he's like the best player in the league and he might be the heftiest price besides like a Micah, that they weren't going to go out and get a Jair Alexander or a Jalen Ramsey. They just weren't committed.
But no, I mean, but that's not what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to go out there and get a Pro Bowl corner.
Yeah, but with that being said,
your corner 2 position at the deadline is dog shit, and the rest of the team looks good, then just go out and just get a service.
Yeah, but no, that's why I mentioned those guys because those guys actually become available. Those like it seems like high level corners. Remember the Patrick Peterson rumors from how many years ago when that was supposed to happen at the deadline? It was solidified since like week 3 we started talking about it, and then he just never got traded and he just like stayed with the Cardinals. You know what I mean? And the Eagles didn't pull the trigger when it was like supposedly 1 first-round pick, and he also had made the Pro Bowl every single year that he was in the league. You know what I mean? He was the guy that they were going to go get. So also with the corner position, like Eli Rick, we kind of like underplay. Like Eli Ricks is still on the roster. He played a lot in 2023. I'm not saying he's a good option, but he has a lot of experience in that role.
Well, that's the thing, and that's the thing.
No, but I also think with that being said, that they won't let it get to the point where an Eli Ricks has to come onto the field.
Well, what I was going to say is the thing with the corner 2 position right now is I feel like it's a plethora of guys who you're like, oh, well, you know, maybe this guy, but there's no one that's like, yeah, definitely him, you know.
But with Coop is Coop's a great player, but probably the thing that he's worst at is like covering incomplete space on an island by himself. That's probably when he got cooked, like versus Adam Thielen, those were the types of situations he was in. And there's been some other players that have, he obviously had the pick 6 in the Super Bowl. One of the plays that got the Chiefs like not back into the game, but gave them a huge explosive play was Xavier Worthy just blowing right past Coop. So, I mean, he's a great player, but he's best utilized in that safety-like role, which is the nickel because of how good he is and how physical he is. That's where he wins with his physicality as a player. So you want him close to the action. You don't want him island out where he cannot impact the game because that's when he's going to start getting picked on in coverage, and he's not going to be able to make the same plays as where he can just read and react when the ball just gets thrown in front of him.
Yeah, but final topic here.
Because
going back to the trades, the Eagles made other moves today. The 2 other trades they made, they traded for another guy returning to the Eagles. Not another guy returning to the Eagles. I'm still on the hypothetical of what if Wentz came here this year. But the Eagles did trade for Fred Johnson, and they've brought him back, which I honestly I really like that move. I really liked Fred Johnson.
Was
I
huge.
think
Every time I think of Fred Johnson, I think about the Saints game and how big he came up in that game for the Eagles. For the Eagles. So that was what, week 2 or week 3, right? That was week 3, yeah. Because that was when the Saints were 2-0, and they were apparently the best team in the entire league. And we had 2 offensive line go down that day, and him and Tyler Steen stepped up and really played a huge part in that game and really spurred them. And, I mean, their offensive line really sparked that game because those Saquon runs were sparked by their offensive line. And then, obviously, the pass protection that they got on 3rd and 16 with one of the most underrated plays in Eagles history, that Dallas Goedert 70-yard drag route, one of the best plays I've ever seen. Got me so hyped because it was so unexpected. I thought we were down in the waters. I thought we were down to our last limb, and Dallas is just rumbling down the sidelines. And I'm so happy.
And the thing about that,
we could be talking about an Eagles roster going this season where tight end could have been a question mark too, because they were so close to they were dangling Dallas Goedert's feet over the balcony.
Yeah, and the thing about that play, the most underrated aspect of that play was Jahan Dotson getting him open there. You know, like he ran a perfect route to where it wasn't an illegal pick. He didn't make contact with any defenders, but he did enough to get, I think, like 2 different defenders to collide into each other and free Dallas Goedert wide open for that big play. So shout out to
that was also that was a gutsy play call to literally show like that was one of the main reads on the play, to throw it under the middle like that to Dallas Goedert, just let the ball get in his hands and trust that the scheme of that play was going to work from Kellen Moore. So that was one of the moments where Kellen Moore actually shined, and that happened early on when he was still. People like way further into the season were still criticizing him, but didn't highlight moments like that where he actually had a really good play call for the situation. But I mean, I feel really good about the Eagles going into the season outside of all that, because I mean, as much as we want to talk about the gaps that they may have on their team, I mean, the rest of the roster is completely solidified, and you can feel great about it. So we'll have to pay attention to AJ and Landon because they're obviously nursing some injuries. I think AJ is just keeping they're a little bit more cautious with AJ, but Landon actually has an injury. So we'll see how he starts to progress, but that's also probably why they wanted to beef up that offensive line. They also love having at least 8 guys that they can really rely on, the 5 stars, and 3 guys that can back up and play different positions and swing around for their O-line. So I don't think they see any of the rookies just yet in those type of roles. So that's why they went out and made that. And then they traded Darian Kennard, who has actually been on only Super Bowl winning teams, right? Darian Kennard has 3 rings.
Yeah, his last 3 seasons, each of those seasons, he has been on a different Super Bowl winning.
So don't tell me the Jacksonville Jaguars are gonna. Is that where they sent him to? Or did they get? I mean, it's such like a it was such a minor deal. They made the 2 O-line deals that I forget who was going where and everything.
Did they send the Jackson? Oh, Darian Kennard. They.
I know Kennard went to the Packers. Oh,
and that's a possibility.
That's a team that has a possibility to compete. So we could be talking about a guy. 4 of them in a row. Now they got a good offensive line. Though they got Zach Tom on the one side,
and that's just crazy to be a backup offensive lineman with 3 Super Bowl rings in your trophy case. You know, that's just
it's crazy to be an offensive lineman with. I mean, like you're playing such a huge role. You're most likely protecting one of the best quarterbacks in the game, being a Super Bowl team. Like Joe Tooney was just doing that for Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady to start his career. That's pretty crazy, honestly. So. Other guys like that, like Wes Welker, receiver, playing with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, you know what I mean? Like, you can't literally play with anything pretty much better than that. So, that's insane. But so if you're downplaying the schedule, I know last year we looked at it, what did we say before the season when we looked at it last year? Was it 13-4?
I don't know, but we can do that. We can do that next week. We can go through.
Yeah, just real quickly, we don't have to go game by game, but just give me an overview of what, like, the level, the ceiling, like how many games at this team, like you said, because you're making it sound like the opponent doesn't matter. If the Eagles show up, they're going to be able to do what they do, which is, fair enough.
Absolutely. However, like I said, it does depend on the corner 2 situation. So I'm just going to say this. If the corner 2 position ends up being a problem, I'm going to say 10 or 11 wins. If the corner 2 position is looking good, I'm going to say 13 or 14 wins, which I don't think is absurd to say at all, because that's what they've been able to do both of the seasons they've gone to the Super Bowl. They've won 14 games.
No, I agree. I think they could easily be one of those 12-win teams that just like is really hyped, kind of falls short of their hype, just winning 12 games. Probably looks like a team that could win 13 or 14, but just turns it on when they need to and goes deep into the playoffs because just by putting them in that situation. But the schedule's tough. I mean, we mentioned those games they start off with. They also end the season last 3 weeks, 2 games versus Washington, and then the Bills sandwiched in between it. So, I mean, that's not an easy ask. So, but hey, hopefully the Bills and the Eagles are both fighting for a playoff spot, because this could, I mean, not for us. We actually win Super Bowls, but for the Bills, that would be the Super Bowl when we play them in week 17, if it's actually for like a playoff spot. With all the trash talk, everybody thinks that the Bills are finally going to get over the hump, this, that, the other, and Patrick still has their number. But this is finally a time where they could actually meet us in a meaningful situation, even though our conferences are different. And we can see and put it on the line. So, but I'll take the Eagles all day, every day. Excited for the season to start. I mean, Sunday we have this week, so we're 11 days till kickoff.
Well, we're Thursday night, not.
Yeah, so 11 days, right?
Oh yeah, I guess so. And I'm going to be there. I will be at the game. Very excited for that. So yeah.
It's going to be a great time. I just ordered a OG starter Kelly Green jacket, so I'm getting ready for the season,
nice.
getting ready for the winter. Yeah, I'm just ready to get back to the link, watch some football. I'm just hyped for football to be back in general. I know you're not a big college guy, but we had some college.
Well, I'm a Michigan guy, and
now you're, because I actually,
Bryce Underwood is about to be. I just saw.
Dude, stop! Because I thought to myself yesterday when I was thinking about podcast topics, I was about to bring up
only the 4th or 5th true freshman to ever start for Michigan. So I'm excited to see him play. The number 1 quarterback recruit in the nation. So
I literally said to myself yesterday when I was thinking about the podcast, I said to myself, if I bring up college football, here comes Dante trying to roll in and act like he's actually a diehard Wolverines fan when he's literally just playing an absolute clown situation to mess with his friend. But
my brother, but it's gotten to the point where I actually do root for Michigan now. So I'm excited to watch Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, I'm a Notre Dame guy, so we got a big match.
Oh, and also one other final piece of Michigan news. We also just got the number 1 running back in the nation to commit.
Oh, hell yeah. Did your coach happen to sign 5, count them 5, former NFL legends' sons to their wide receiving core in the same year?
I don't pay attention to what Notre Dame does. Okay.
All right, we'll go look it up. 5.
All NFL I know is Hitter is making his debut in Germany. So.
All right. Well, once you get 5 NFL legends' sons to all play wide receiver for you in the same year, committed to your class, let me know what happens. And you make the national championship.
Let me know when you watch your team win a natty. All right.
I mean, Notre Dame's like top 3 programs in the history of college football, so you can't really talk smack.
When was the last time they won a natty? That's all I'm saying.
I mean, you guys rose up from the Michigan. I can't even say you guys. You're such a fraud. You're letting me buy into it. I'm getting caught up in it now. I'm getting mad. Show me. You're in your house right now. Show me a piece of Michigan gear that you own from being such a diehard fan. You got a big M behind you or something? Is that your number 1? You use the M little.
I have been meaning to get like a throwback Tom Brady Michigan jersey.
Oh my God. Oh my!
Because if I'm going to own a Michigan jersey, I feel like it only makes sense if it's a Tom Brady.
Mr. Yeah. Now he's gonna start wearing Tom Brady's jerseys because he's allowed since it's Michigan. Yeah.
Well, it's a Michigan jersey. That's the thing. But
All
right, or I could get a Brandon Graham Michigan jersey. I could do that. I might do that.
Why don't you get a Miles Hinton Michigan jersey?
Yeah. Wait, who's another Eagle from Michigan? Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think of somebody.
Oh, dude, their old defensive tackle back in the day, I think, was my boy. That the one that had the brain issue. Wasn't Mike Patterson from Michigan? No, he was from USC. I'm tripping. They had somebody that was from Michigan that was on their D line back in the day.
I'm blanking. Either way, we're out of time though.
All right, hold on. Let me just find this player real quick. I googled it. See if I can find it. Eagles D-line, Michigan. You know what's crazy too is half the time Todd Pinkston. Remember Todd Pinkston?
Todd Pinkston went to
Dhani Jones was the guy that I was thinking about, but he was a linebacker. But he also had that crazy show with the Travel Channel, the Wild Show. You remember that back in the day?
No.
Yeah, he had a channel. He had a show, with the Travel Channel, doing all this wild outside stuff, outdoor stuff.
Oh, Ben Van Sumeren played at Michigan. So did Giles Jackson and Trevor Keegan.
Yeah, I was going to say 6th round Trevor Keegan from last year. He was off the national championship team. So, yeah, maybe you got some options. But, yeah, that'll about wrap it up for episode 111. We're 111 episodes into the Paisan Sports podcast, and we're only getting started because the biggest time of our podcast season, the week-to-week Eagles chatter, which we're going to be breaking up for our podcast now, when Eagles season starts, we're probably, we're going a little bit late today with being an hour and a half, and we're obviously about to wrap it up right now. But when we get back to more so just a little bit over the hour, we're probably during the Eagles season, 70% going to be talking about the Eagles on the podcast. So that's how much coverage we're going to give you guys. Bless you. But, yeah, excited for the season to start in 11 days. Next week, you want to run through the schedule next week? Because I think we did that on the release last offseason, but this offseason we didn't extensively go one through each week. So we'll do that.
Yeah, I don't think so. So we'll do that next week.
We'll talk about who made the roster when it comes official, because they're still trickling out information and they don't have the cutoff date, or they're not hit with the deadline right now. So once the roster gets finalized and we know who's on the roster and they seem like they're done making trades. I mean, we'll have 4 days till kickoff, so they won't be making trades on that Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday leading up, unless Micah Parsons just gets dealt to them then. But, yeah, we'll be back. One thing, we're going to keep doing it. You know how people keep posting a picture of themselves until something happens or something changes with a certain narrative? We're going to keep ending this podcast talking about why hasn't Quentin Grimes been signed?
Yes.
Sixers training camp, less than a month out. Where is Quentin Grimes?
Where's Waldo? Yeah.
Where is Quentin Grimes? So we need our king back. We need the Process Sixer legend, even though it seemed like the Sixers they turned back into the Process Sixers, and he turned into prime. Who was the guard back in the day that tore his ACL? Tony Roten Jr.
Oh yeah, he did get her. I forgot about that. Yeah, anyway, though, we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah, but so we'll see you guys next week.